Yeah. This is the worst 3D conversion I have ever seen. You see how it says 3D on the box? That's a lie. After a few minutes, I turned the movie off and went back to the menu to make sure I hadn't played the flat version by accident. I frequently found myself closing one eye just to see if there was anything different from either of the views. Now, look, you can see what they're doing. They're just sort of grabbing a part of the screen and kind of warping it over to the side. And what that gives you is kind of this convex bowl shape where it looks like you're watching it on one of those curved screen TVs. And after a while, your eye gets accustomed to it and it just becomes flat. Look at these fantastic 80s effects. This had the same budget as the Star Wars movies of the time. It was considered a big disaster. Now, this crude excuse for 3D, it does somewhat work in hallways and staircases, but that's really it. And even that is too much of a compliment. In fact, I went. Now, this is a picture of my TV, and I went and put it on 2D mode, and then had turned on my television's own 2D to 3D conversion, just to compare how it does to what was presented here. And what I found is it actually did a better job than this Blu-ray of converting it to 3D. I took some pictures. So here it is right off the disc, and you see they just sort of grab a part of the middle of the screen and warp it over like a funhouse mirror. And then in my own television, which you'll have to pardon the picture, you see, look at the background. There's a little bit of bump mapping going on, and they have their own little depth, which is unique to the front. And there's actually some elements moving independently there. Now take this. This is from the disc. Again, they grab it from the center and just kind of yank it over, which looks like the inside of a bowl when you're actually watching it. Now, on my own TV, again, it moves with independently, and there's a little bit of detail in the middle of that spaceship, and a lot of things has its own space. Now there's some errors because it's relying on light to make this happen. Now here's the Blu-ray. Look, Captain Picard has to squint to try and see this 3D. It's just ridiculous, everything moving together. Now notice the front. It's got its own little movements. There's some bump mat activity going on in the background. A flat cardboard cutout is often a complaint of a conversion, but here it would improve things to see some cutouts. If it wasn't for the fact that I've never seen this before, I probably would not have kept watching. This was one of those movies that I frequently heard about but have never seen, and so I thought watching it in 3D would be a good excuse to finally see it. The only good thing I can say about this 3D is that it does not actually hurt the eyes to watch it. It just starts to look flat after you get used to the concave image. Now, my friend has read the books and seen this before, and so he was frantically trying to fill me in on everyone's backstory as we were watching it. So Dune is a massive, crazy story. It sounds to me almost like it was some kind of coke addict wrote a book to defend his habit and declare he did not have a problem, but that these drugs were the secret to the very future of the human race. From what I saw, this seemed to be a fairly simple gladiator-style revenge story, maybe a bit of Robin Hood thrown in. And there was a shot with a background matte of a ship landing that shook as if someone bumped the camera, which would be funny in a low-budget film. I can't imagine how the producers of this film let that stay in. And my friend pointed out the fixation on the vile nature of the Harkonnen character, kind of these red-haired, curly-haired people. He felt that although it is reflected in the novel, this movie would have been better if that was kept subtle or just hinted at and perhaps focused on other details that were left out. Myself, I get the feeling that this really wasn't a movie about that book, whatever that book entailed. I think this was a David Lynch movie, which is easy to say from 2020, having his these decades of his work to examine. I think he really just wants to contrasts two different psychologies. What I feel is clear to me is that Lynch is more interested in juxtaposing a man who can control his worm versus a man who cannot. The 3D version is a waste of money and time.